Hello everyone. In today's video, I'll be taking you through some interesting hands-on of AWS Lambda. If you remember our previous video, we spoke about what are all the different ways in which we can trigger a Lambda function. So we first talk about a scheduler, second thing it could be an event-driven, and third thing a HTTP. In today's video, I'll try to show you the first and second approach on how you can trigger your Lambda functions. So now let's get started. First, let's see how to schedule a Lambda function. To schedule a Lambda function, we'll first go to CloudWatch. In CloudWatch, we'll be seeing a couple of options on our left hand side. So let me click Events, or we can go to Rules. Under Rules, click on Create Rule. So here I have to select Schedule, and here I can say how often I have to run the Lambda function, whether I have to run it every 5 minutes or every 5 seconds. I can set the trigger rate here. So suppose if I say 5 minutes, or if I say 5 hours, or every once in 5 days. There's another way. I can also give a cron expression. This is a better way of doing. Here I can say something like run my Lambda function every third day of a month, or run this Lambda function exactly at 9 a.m. on 5th of every month. So such kind of expressions can be set using cron. Fixed rate is, there are very limited things which I can do, right? And then under target, I can select Lambda here. So where do I see Lambda? Let me batch job, CloudWatch, Cloud Build. You come down. Yes. Click on Lambda function, and if you have any Lambda function, it will come here. You can select that Lambda function, and then you can click Configure Details. Currently, we do not have any Lambda functions, so let us go and create one. Before we even start creating a Lambda function, we have to assign a role. So let us first go to our IAM service. Under IAMs, let me go to roles. Let me go to create role, and let me create a role for Lambda function. So let me select Lambda here, click on next, and here I have to tell what policies I want. So I will give Lambda, let me select Lambda basic execution rule, and then if required we can attach furthermore policies as well. Alright, and now go to next. Let me give some name. Let me give a simple name, lambda-rule, and create. Now this role has a very minimal thing which you can do, but as and when our use case changes, we can keep attaching policies into our role. Now let me open a new tab. Let me go to Lambda. Let me open a new tab. So today whatever we do, we will try to do as much as in US East, North Virginia region. Okay, so here let me click on create function. Let me give a name, my Lambda function node. So here there are different runtimes. So as we discussed in the previous video, Lambda supports multiple programming languages. So I can choose in which language I would like to code. Either it can be Go or Java or Node.js, Python, Ruby, right? So let me select Node now. There's a very good reason to select Node. I'm quite sure that a lot of Java developers would be very enthusiastic to support Java runtime. But from my point of view, if you're creating a Lambda, it would be better if you choose Node.js. That's because when you create a Node.js, the RAM which it needs, initial minimum RAM capacity is very low. 128 MB is enough if your functionality is very simple. If you're not using any CPU intensive operation, then a nodejs will be good enough for you, because that can even work in 128 MB RAM. But if you do write the same code in Java, it will take a minimum of 512 MB of RAM. So if your use case is very simple, if you're just doing some very simplistic business logic, it is better to choose nodejs as your runtime. So let's select nodejs here and come down. Let me use an existing role, and let us look out for the role which we just created, lambda underscore role, and then create a function. So the best thing about choosing nodejs is I can write my code right away in the console. Whereas if I choose Java, then I cannot code in the console. I have to upload the jar file in S3 bucket and then integrate that S3 bucket with my lambda so that it could pick the jar file from the lambda and execute it. We will also see how to do that, but initially I'll show you how to execute a very simple Node.js program which you can run, and you can get a hang of how to use lambda. So this is the ID which you can see. So it by default creates index.js file, and this is where we can insert our business logic or our Node.js code. So the use case which we'll be seeing today is a trigger functionality where you have a S3 bucket, and whenever the user pushes any code into the S3 bucket, lambda will get triggered and it will send an email to the user. So that is a pretty basic functionality. So for this, we would be first creating an S3 bucket, and then we would be using SES, which is SES is an email service of AWS Amazon. So we'll be using a bit of SES and S3 bucket, S3 storage as well. So let me create a new tab, and let me take you through S3. Let me first create a bucket, and then parallelly I will show you how to use SES service. So there's a bucket. Let me create a simple bucket called Trigger Lambda S3 bucket. Alright, let me create this in US East region. So let me US East North Virginia. We'll try to keep all our use case in one single region. Alright, and click next. Okay, we don't need to click next, we'll just click on create because we don't have to do any configuration. Alright, so we have created a bucket called a Trigger Lambda S3 bucket, and now let me create a new tab and go to SES. Go to service, type SES and click on simple email service. Here first thing we have to do is register the email address to which we are sending an email. So click on email addresses and then verify a new email address, and here you can type your email address. Let me give my email address ewski@gmail.com and click on verify. So once I do this, I will be getting an email. I have to open the email, click the link, and then verify this email. So let me go to my Gmail inbox, and as you can see, I have got an email from Amazon Web Services. Click on this and I have to click on this link. I think I have done some blunder. I have just created this in my Mumbai region. So let me go back, delete this. I don't want to do this in Mumbai region. Let me go to US East. Okay, I have already have one. Let me remove it and let me give a new email address. Verify and then go to your inbox and verify it again. So for every region you have to verify your email separately. So click on this and now it has been verified. Congratulations. Now I can start sending emails using this. Alright. So for the sake of demo, I'll be using the same email address as from address and to address. But in actual case, you can register more than one email address. You can use one email address as your farm, another email address as your to address. If I refresh, I should be no longer seeing this pending verification. Let me check that. Alright, beautiful. So now that we have verified our email address and we have set up our email address in simple email services, and we have also created our S3 bucket, now it's time to create our Lambda function. So let me go back to a Lambda and let me open my nodejs file. So guys, this is the nodejs code which we'll be using. So this is a pretty straightforward code. You can also get this code from AWS official documentation. So here I'm calling this method called send email, and this send email I'm passing in parameter called eparams. I have defined this eparams here where I have set the to address, from address, stuffs like that. I have to change the to address. This is the one which we have registered in our SEL service. So let me quickly change the source and the to. Alright, so let me just copy this and go back to my AWS console, paste it here and then save. Excellent. So now that we are done with the code, let us explore some of the options. If I scroll down, there's something called basic settings. So if I edit this, I can see some of the options like what runtime I'm using, what is the handler method, and what is the memory, initial memory which has been set here is 128 MB. If required, it will scale automatically. And there's a timeout. It will wait for 3 seconds. If there is no response, it gets timed out. If we want, we can increase this timeout. I can say that wait for 10 minutes. Alright, and use an existing rule, and if you want, we can change the rule here and then see. And let's see what else do we have. And there's something called X-ray. X-ray is a very interesting topic. We'll be seeing it in detail when we talk about API gateway. This is basically used to trace the service and to see in which part you have to increase the performance of your application. So if I enable X-ray, it will start sending the traces to the X-ray services. We will see this in detail when we talk about API gateway. I will try to show a demo around X-ray. Right now we don't need this, and I think this is even chargeable. I didn't see the X-ray billing in the free tier account, so I'm reluctant to switch on this active tracing. In my next demo, let me read through the free tier documentation and check if it is free. And VPC, all our demo will be around the default VPC. If you are creating a VPC of your own, you can select the VPC of your choice. And these are the concurrency asynchronous invocation. We just saw a brief about what is asynchronous invocation. If I want to make this asynchronous, then I have to create a queue, and then all the triggers will go to the queue and Lambda will pick from the queue. I also have to set up another queue for the response. And let's go back. Oops, I think my code is gone. Let me paste it again. Alright, and save it. If I don't save, if I again refresh, the code will be lost. Alright guys, now the next thing I have to do is add a trigger. So there are two ways to add a trigger. Either I can go to my S3 bucket and add a trigger from there. So how do I do that? Click on your bucket and then go to properties and then come down. You have something called events. Click on events. Oh no, this is not what I want to open. Yeah, so once I click on events, I can add a notification. I can click add, and then I can select what I want to do. I can say, okay, trigger an event on every put request, and then I have to send the trigger to what? Is it a lambda function or SQSQ or SNSQ? In our case, it's a lambda function, so click lambda and then select the lambda of your choice. Either uh, you can create a lambda, or if you have already created a lambda function, you can select the lambda. This is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is click on add trigger and then select S3. So our trigger will be in S3, and in which bucket? Trigger lambda S3 bucket. And on which event we have to trigger this? On every put, right? And click on enable trigger. We won't be using this prefix suffix. This is in case if you want to set this trigger to a specific folder or any specific file extension. We don't have anything like that. And click on acknowledge and click on write. So now we have set a trigger. If we want, we can also set a destination. Destination could be SNSQ or another lambda function, stuffs like that. We don't need any destination in our use case, so we will leave it aside. And then before we go to the S3 bucket and try to put some images in it, let us test this. So how do I test it? Click on test and then go to event template and select S3. So we are testing on S3 delete. No, we are testing on S3 put. So select S3 put. So this will generate a JSON file by default with a virtual bucket called example bucket. This doesn't exist, but it is just a virtual bucket for our testing purpose. And then click on create. Before I go on create, let me also open my Gmail account so that I can show you the email functionality. Alright, where were we? And here we were. Click on create. Oops, I need to give some name. So S3 trigger testing. Alright. So click on create. And let me go back to my inbox and see if I have got any email from Amazon. We haven't got any email, so what could be the reason? So either we can go to logs, but I think I have already know what the reason is, but just to show you guys, let me go to the CloudWatch now. For people who doesn't know what CloudWatch is, this is like a centralized logging platform in AWS. So this is where the logs are stored, and if I say, it says is not authorized to perform send email, right? So when we created a role, we attached the basic Lambda policy into it, but we are trying to send an email here, so that's for sure that the policies are not enough. We need to attach few more policies into our Lambda role so that it will enable us to send email. So let us go back to our IAM console. Let me click on the role which we just created and attach policies and try to attach something regarding SCS. And select Amazon SES full access. Alright, now attach policy. I think now we are good to go. Let me test this functionality now. Where are we? Here. So click on test. Alright, now let me go back to my inbox. I think for sure it should trigger a mail now. If it doesn't, then we have to go back to the logs and see what is the issue. Email sent. Okay, it is able to send an email, so I think it's just few minutes until we see an email in my inbox. I don't see any problem in the log file. So guys, as you can see in my inbox, there were a couple of mails generated. and it got stored in the spam folder. Never mind. So if I just open, it says file uploaded in bucket, example bucket is a just virtual bucket used for testing, file name test-key. So great. So now we have confirmed that our trigger is working fine. Let me click on report now spam so that next time it will end up in my inbox. I was actually waiting for a pretty long time, and then I just figured out it landed in my spam folder. Alright, so let me go back to my inbox and do some real testing now. And let me try to put some file in the S3 bucket. This is the bucket. Let me go back. Upload. Let me try to put the file source code which you just created. Downloads. This is the nodejs file, and just upload. Now let's go back to my inbox and see if any trigger has been created. Hopefully this time it will land in my inbox. Great. So here it is. It says file uploaded in bucket, Trigger Lambda S3 bucket. This is the same bucket name which we have given, and this is the file which we have uploaded. So the moment any file is being uploaded in the S3 bucket, the Lambda function gets triggered, and the logic, whatever logic which is stored in the Lambda function, is to send an email that gets executed. Amazing. So guys, so this is how you trigger a Lambda function. You can trigger a Lambda function using S3 or using SNS, or it could be anything. If I just go back a bit and let me see what all triggers can we add. So we can have a trigger in API gateway or any Alexa. I would like to use test Alexa once, or maybe if I'm able to do it successfully, I'll post a video around it. It can be an S3, SNS, SQS, could be anything, right? So we can use a trigger around any of these services. Okay friends, thank you so much for watching my video. I'm sure this video could be a breakthrough for people who have no idea about Lambda. I'll try to come up with pretty interesting use cases using AWS Lambda in my next videos. Until then, take care. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and write down the comments if you're interested to see video in any particular topics.